And I was like, I'm sorry, I just don't remember. Hi, and welcome to Rosy Learning. My name is Rosy and I teach English in Poland. I am originally from Canada, where I was born and raised until I was 14 years old. So in this video, I actually wanted to really introduce myself and tell you a little bit about how it was for me moving from Canada to Poland. It maybe wasn't as shocking as you would expect because we knew Polish, and every other year for 2 months we would be in Poland sightseeing, visiting family, going camping, rock climbing. It was lots of fun. So Poland was actually this kind of fairyland for us, this magical country where there was no school, there was no homework, everyone was super nice, and we could just go crazy, do whatever we wanted. The first thing that actually I remember thinking when we moved to Poland was that the cars are so small. And I remember this was my absolute first thought as soon as I left the airport. And I do realize that I had been to Poland before. We'd visited, like I said, several times. But in that moment, I guess I just realized it just hit me. Now, the second thing that was very surprising in the beginning for me was food, and specifically ice cream, chocolate, and milk. I don't know why these dairy products just tasted completely different for me. And I do know that Canadian food is not the healthiest, but I was used to it. My taste buds were used to it, and just the milk, the ice cream, and the chocolate here was just a completely different taste, and I hated it. It was gross. It's like, why is it so weird? Another thing connected with food that surprised me was I remember I went with a group of friends to a pizzeria. These were early days, and suddenly these Polish kids were putting sauce all over their pizza. It's like, what are you doing? Is that necessary? Like, why? And it wasn't even like tomato sauce. It was garlic sauce. In Canada, nobody really puts sauce on their pizza. It's just not done. Now I do the same. When in Rome, do as the Romans, right? The last thing connected with food actually was that in Canada, milk comes in a bag and the cereal comes in a box. Whereas in Poland, it's the other way around. See, the cereal's in a bag and the milk is in a carton, which was, it's not like shocking, but it was a little surprising. Number 3, school. So I obviously had to start going to school in Poland. And one of the things that surprised me was that in Canada, every day starts and finishes at the same time. So I think it was like you started school at 8 o'clock and you finished around 2 p.m. I don't remember exactly, but everyone started and finished at the same time. So actually, the streets of Canada are, well, at least where I lived, were always kind of empty. There were 2 times during a day that you would actually have crowds of kids walking the streets. And that was in the morning when everyone was going to school, and in the afternoon when everyone was going back home from school. And in Poland, it's not like that. The kids here start at different times, they finish at different times. Every day is different, every day of the week. So you have a schedule for the entire week. And on Monday, you might start at 8 and finish at 1. On Tuesday, start at 9, finish at 10. It's random, seriously. Another thing was actually that I remember my friends were giving a presentation at school, and the teacher asked them a question which I knew they did not know the answer to. I just knew because, I don't know, I had been practicing with them, or maybe I was also taking part in the presentation. I don't remember clearly because the first few months or even years of living here are a little foggy, but I do remember that my friends just started improvising. They were like answering that question confidently, but it turns out that this is something that kids do here and people in general. It's called ściemnianie. So everyone here, ściemnia, which is kind of like mislead or just kind of, well, the situation that I explained. There's no perfect translation for it, but you Polish people who might be watching this, you know what I'm talking about. Number 4, one thing that was really hard for me in the beginning to get used to was using the Polish titles pan, pani, which is Mr. and Mrs., or sir and madam, actually. And I remember that it was so hard because in Canada, everyone is just you, right? You don't say, sir, madam. I mean, maybe in Britain, but in Canada and America, everyone's really easygoing. So you're on a first name basis with most people. Whereas here, like, I remember the teachers were really annoyed with me. They were like, can you please show us the respect that we are due? And I was like, I'm sorry, I just don't remember. And I know that, it's really frustrating where you don't want to insult anybody, but you're doing it. And like, it's not on purpose. I remember that there was this situation where I was in in our apartment, and this person calls us on the intercom, and he's like selling eggs. And I asked my mom, she's like, yes. So I told him, sure, come on up, sir. And I was so proud of saying pan, sir, to him, that I just hung up and, left the room. And then the intercom is buzzing again, and I pick up, and the man's like, okay, it's cool that you want to buy my eggs. However gross that sounds. But could you let me in? I was like, oh no. I was so embarrassed to have forgotten to buzz him in, because I had been so proud of using the word pan. And I was like, Mom, okay, I'm not opening the door for this person. I cannot show my face. So yeah, it was an ordeal. There's actually more to that, but maybe I'll tell you about that in a different video. The next one, number 6, is when my friend learned that I was from Canada, she was like, oh wow, have you ever seen snow? And I was like, have you ever seen snow? Like, seriously, you're asking a Canadian if they've ever seen snow? It's like, you've never seen snow, girl. Winters here are actually not great. Not very intense at all. Like, for the past several years, the only snow we've ever had was just a little bit for maybe 1 or 2 days. Like, seriously, there is no snow in Poland, at least not lately. Okay, and the last one for today, number 7, is adapting to the Polish currency, which is złoty and grosz. So złoty is like a dollar and grosz is like a cent, but not really because, currency exchange. Like, I never knew in the beginning, is 1 złoty a lot or is it cheap? And I remember that I was surprised, actually, that a bus ticket is only 1 złoty. It's like, whoa, that is so cheap. Like, you can just ride the bus all day there and back and everywhere. But my friends were like, oh, seriously? Really? It's cheap for you? Because it's actually expensive. I was like, oh, really? And yeah, it turns out for most people here, and for me later on as well, I have to admit, 1 złoty was too much to pay for a few stops, and people do just kind of, let's say, forget to buy the bus ticket. And grades. I didn't know if what I was getting was a good grade or a bad grade. And I remember I actually got thrown into a bilingual class with French. And I know that, you think, Canada, oh, they know French. They do not know French. No way. So I didn't know how to say anything in French, actually, when I came here. I remember that I got a 4.5 from my first test, and I was like, everyone's like, oh wow, cool, good job, Risha. I was like, is this even a good grade? I don't know. Is this a lot or is this not a lot? Is this a good grade or is it a bad one? And here, actually, you get graded on a scale from 1 to 6. So 4.5 is not bad, actually. And in general, yeah, 4.5 is a good, it's like a B plus, I guess. Something like that. I told him, sure, come on up, come on up, sir. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you're Polish, please let me know what you thought of my first impressions of living here in Poland. Please keep in mind that these are my subjective impressions and I hope they weren't offensive in any way. If you've ever moved to another country, let me know how that was for you. If you have any more questions about my experience, I have lots more stories I can tell, so just let me know. And I encourage you to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, maybe subscribe here on YouTube, and see you soon, I guess. So bye!